This is Mongolian Mindset, and today me and Christian are going to be breaking down how the artisans, that's Christian's temperament, parent kids. You guys did give us 30 likes, so we did promise to continue this series. If we get 30 likes on this video, we'll continue the series, and who knows, we might do the NTs next or the NFs next. Depends on how we feel. Um, but these videos are very enlightening. So like when a lot of times when you ask somebody about how their childhood was, they'll may give you a key nugs here and there, and this might, show you how their parent was, or maybe this could contribute to potentially the subset that they have. We haven't really linked a lot of it, but I do think your parents do contribute to the subset that you do have. Chris, you got anything you want to say?
Yeah, man. Before you watch this video, make sure you watch the more general video so that you get kind of like overview of what we're talking about. This is going to be parenting styles based on your type and how it corresponds to each subsequent type. So yeah, make sure you watch the general guide first. Also, make sure you really pay attention to this video. This is going to be the best parenting video based on MBTI on YouTube, guaranteed. So watch this not once, not twice, three times, so you can get all the information correct.
You guys know we do bring the best and most accurate information out here. Um, and we continue to do it, man. I mean, if you go through our playlist, if you see me and Christian's face on a PowerPoint, you need to watch that bitch immediately. You need to run, slap somebody's mom, um, but watch that video. Okay, guys. So we have this is Christian. So I'm gonna let him take most of this. Because he's gonna have way more stories about like how he would parent and whatnot. And I'm just gonna be adding in my 2 cents and stuff, but this will be mainly focused on Christian because Christian is an ISTP.
All right, go ahead and take that one.
So you guys always know we do this for a reason. It's always for the major key, the major takeaways, okay? And this is to make sure that you support and encourage your kids and you stop the projecting. As we said in other videos, we all project ourselves onto our children and we want them to be exactly like us, but that's not always the case. If you make the wrong move or you try to parent them the same way you were, or you try to project onto them the way that you want it to be parented, you can actually cause them a lot of like traumas and stuff like that. And your job as a parent is to get them to adulthood and have them ready to be successful, whatever venture they decide to go out on. Um, good parenting answers who are my children? How can I help them along the path that best suits them? Okay, understand how your temperament affects the way you raise your children. Some temperaments aren't the best for raising certain temperaments, but awareness and understanding can help, right? That's the major thing because let's say if you're the NT and you get an NF, you might find yourself in a little bit of trouble there. A little bit, I think, different for us because our empathy isn't the best as an NT. We try.
Also, make sure that you are vetting who you're gonna choose as a partner in life to parent the kids with. That is another major key because you're only 50% of the parenting unit. Okay. It takes two to produce a kid. The other person's gonna provide the other 50%. So you might think you're doing a great job, the best you can, but guess what? You picked the wrong person, the other person's messing up, and you're gonna have to deal with the repercussions of that. Okay. So
Uh,
that's another major key. Make sure you're picking the right partner.
yeah. And we know more than anything, there's a lot more single parenting. And you always have to remember with two parenting, you're gonna get better outcomes. You're just overall gonna get more development for the child because you're gonna balance each other out. Sometimes if
Yeah.
you're just one type, you might be actually enabling them. So it's very important. But
Yeah. And
we'll
as we said in the last video, that other parent, if they're a different personality, it opens them up to another reality of life. That's why, two parents are better than one in most cases. Okay. So now here we go. The artisan parent or the SPs. when they're parenting an artisan kid SP. Now, this one's interesting because obviously same type. So it could go one of two ways, in my opinion. Okay, as we see, both see the world from a pragmatic lens and they're concrete of what is lens. Now, this runs the risk of just reinforcing uh bad behavior in a way based on the parent, because if the SP is developed then and successful, the SP can kind of give them a roadmap of how to get to a successful life. But if the SP has failed to develop throughout his life and is kind of, just running rampant with his personality without really knowing what he's doing, he might reinforce, his past failures onto his kid, and his kid might fall into the same traps. That's how I see it. So artisan parents admire that artisan kids place an importance on improvising, overcoming, and adapting. Now, like I said, if you're not developed, then you might be charmed by your kid because in a way he he reminds you of yourself when you were a kid, right? So then you're charmed by that, but then you don't place enough boundaries or roadmaps for the kid to develop in the right way. That's the underdeveloped SP. Now, if you're a developed SP, then you can temper that and say, hey, it's charming that my kid acts like me, but at the same time, I don't want him falling into the stereotypical traps. Okay. Often they're the price of the artisan parent. Basically, you're going to favor them because you're just aligned with them personality wise.
Projection.
Weaknesses are from not placing sufficient limits and encouraging natural impulsiveness. So, like I said, you're not placing enough limits and you're just reinforcing bad behavior. This relationship can lead the child to have trouble with authority and following the rules. Now, this comes from a similarity in pragmatic thinking. But like we said in all our other videos, just because you're a pragmatic doesn't mean you could just behave however you want. You need to follow the rules because we live in a society filled with rules. Okay, so you need to teach those rules to your kid. Now, if you're a successful SP, then you already know this and you can kind of prepare him for that. But if you're just running rampant yourself, then your kid's just going to run rampant because you guys are aligned in that way and you're just going to reinforce that bad behavior.
Yeah, I mean, so here I just see things as like doubling down, right? Doubling down can be good, it can be bad, for the sake, just because SPs a lot of times they need to learn the limits and they need to learn the consequences. And the earlier they do that, the more they can avoid certain pitfalls and traps in their life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so with you them being like seen, I mean, by a parent who's an SP, they might be a little bit more lenient on a lot of things and be like, you know what, they'll learn the consequences over time. And that's kind of a bad approach. For instance, I had a coworker tell me her son got in a car accident and like she kind of like bailed him out of the situation and everything. Um, and it like she was like he'll learn over time with the of the consequences and stuff like that. And I'm just like, what the fuck? This is SP for real. This is SP fucking parent. Like, what the fuck? I would have been up his fucking ass. Even like, please don't call my dad. Please don't. But that's the difference in temperament here. She believes the consequences will be learned over time.
Yeah,
Um,
I think in a way you need to understand that if your kid's a SP, he is gonna learn in the moment because he's improvising, right? So you need to allow him to feel the repercussions of his actions when those repercussions come up, right? Now, of course, you don't want to make him feel like you're not supporting him, but at the same time, because he's a pragmatic improviser, it's almost inevitable that he is going to run into some shit. Okay. Like here and there. Like he's gonna bump into some walls because he's testing like boundaries, right? So by you removing the repercussions, then you're just going to reinforce those bad behaviors even more. You need to allow him to feel the repercussions of his actions over time because that's gonna lead him to a more balanced state when he grows up as an adult, right?
so like Christian's like that. He's like that. I'm like, shut that shit the fuck down. Like, Like, bro, that's it. If you fuck up, that's it. Like, nah. And, you can learn the consequences. Maybe you don't. I don't give a damn. It's gone. Whatever it is gone. It's gone. Whatever. All right,
What
Chris.
do you mean? Wait, what do you mean? Go back because I didn't
Like
understand
so
that.
so like let's say for instance, if an SP does something that's bad, like whatever's going on, it's done. Like if he's got a car, he's walking now. He better get a bike. If he is you just like breaking anything, it's like nah, bro. Like no. Because I know where it's going long term. Like so I'm just gonna shut it down immediately. I'm not gonna be like, oh, maybe he'll learn over time or anything like that. Like I don't even care. It's like it's gone. It is what it is. Like you burned it. Like that's
Yeah, but
it.
I think what you're missing is like I would take a similar approach to you, but it's I'm an SP, you're not. But the thing is, like I detailed in the first slide, in the SP slide, it's like there's a difference between SP parent, one SP parent and another SP parent, because one might be more developed than the other. Like, if you're actually developed and you understand that these are traps and falls, then you're gonna prepare for that.
Yeah.
You know. Now, but if, like I said, if you're not developed and you're just running rampant with your personality and you're an SP and you have an SP kid, you might just allow him to behave like SP without restraint because you're charmed by it. It's almost like it reminds you of you. So you give him more leeway. But that's not something that you should do. That's what
Long
I'm trying to warn people of.
yeah.
Okay.
Long term, you should be like
Yeah.
a lot of times they'll be like, well, that same thing happened to me, and he'll learn. They'll be kind of like projecting their consequential awareness on a child, and that's not right. They
Right.
not learning at the same pace. But
Mhm.
go ahead. This is
Okay.
show
So
today.
this is artisan parents with the guardian kid, or SJs. Now, in this case, they're both concrete. And so the difference is the child is going to focus on what is right. They're more affiliative. So they kind of like follow the rules as established, while you're more pragmatic. So you kind of want him or her to test the rules a little more than he or she would be comfortable with. Um, Now, this is kind of a good thing because, in my opinion, like the personalities never steer too far away from like their natural state. Like they can move into other realms, but they'll always go back to mean kind of thing. So if you could teach your SJ to be more pragmatic, then eventually when they go out into society, they can access that as well as follow the rules, which I think is kind of like a superpower. Um, Parents can encourage a wide variety of activities. This can cause guardians to loosen up. Child can learn to loosen up on society standards, right? So like at SJ, you leave them to his or her natural devices. They'll be pretty entrenched into the right way to do things. But the thing is, like, sometimes you need to go outside of that to get better results or more efficient results, right? So the challenge is, like, as a parent, you might want to promote that. You might want to tell them, hey, test that boundary right there. You could get a really good result. And the kid is going to be kind of like, oh, I don't know if I should, kind of scared of that possibility. Um, so guardian kids can overcome their natural caution by having SP parents, and that could lead them to really good results, like beyond what they would get by themselves as an SJ. Now, problems can arise if the artisan parent doesn't have patience with their children, cautious nature, with concern for doing what's right. So if you're too forceful, you might actually diminish your SJ kid, instead of promoting growth. Okay. And it might make him or her feel as a failure, like they're failing you because you're constantly disappointed by their inability to take action, right? Now, remember, this is why we have two parents for balance, because like if you're an SP and you're promoting that pragmatic behavior, it might be a good thing to have a partner that's not as pragmatic so that the kid can feel like they have a home base to go to when they're kind of tired of testing their boundaries. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think
So,
overall this is pretty good relationship because it will lead to the SJ just being better at like trying different things. So like later on in life, they won't be so stuck in a box. Um,
Yeah.
that's gonna be important for their development because you don't like if you get stuck in a box, then that limits your overall growth and what you can do and your overall outcomes. So here with them getting an SP parent, they're gonna be more into like testing the limits and being a little bit more fluid with things and not jamming it down people's throat. Um, and
Yeah, like I said, it
learning
kind of accesses a
great.
superpower for SJ because it's like I said, as an adult, if you don't develop this early, you could become very entrenched, right? And then in society nowadays, it moves so quickly. You kind of want to prepare future adults to be more adaptable, right? So even though we live in an SJ society, as society keeps developing, we want like future professionals, adults, or whatever to be able to adapt with the times because as we see, everything changes so quickly nowadays, right? So SP parent will be perfect for to prepare SJ kid for this future society
Mhm.
because he's gonna teach him like, hey, test your limits. Maybe bend that rule a little bit and try that out that you didn't think you could or whatever, and they're gonna be scared of it, right? They're cautious because it goes outside of their nature, but overall, I think it's a good thing as long as it's done in a responsible manner.
Yeah. I think also this will help with SJs not being when they get older regretting the decisions they made because they may do one thing over and over and not really go outside and try different things. So they may get to an advanced age 50, 60 and regret their life choices. But having an SP parent can have you more open to things and allow you to make a decision that's best for you and not best for
Yeah,
society.
I guess I could give a specific example. For example, like let's say your kid is an SJ, right? So society is gonna tell them like, hey, you need to go get a 4-year degree at this major university, right? For whatever reason, right? It's like society just promotes that. So your kid's an SJ, he's probably likely to kind of get entrenched in that mindset of like, okay, I need to go to a 4-year school, probably a specific like school, right? But as a SP, you're more pragmatic. You're like, hey, you know what? You don't need to go to that school. You could probably test these schools out that are a little less conventional, and you might like that. You might encourage your kid to go into different fields that they didn't even think of, and that could lead to a better result than actually going to a 4-year university and getting just a traditional degree. That's just an example, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So you're opening your kid up to more pragmatic ideas. So that's a good thing.
Pragmatic, what works,
Mm-hmm.
just improvising, being more open, trying different things. So that's just gonna give them better results.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now this is the artisan parent. So the SPs, the artisan parent with the idealist kid. So SPs and NFs. Okay. Now this is the relationship my grandfather had with my father. So I think it's a good perspective to have when I talk about this. They'll have trouble understanding each other due to the parent being pragmatic and concrete, while the child is abstract and affiliative. So my father was more of a artist, and he was more of an idealist. So like he was more about I guess he was like slightly more sensitive, wanted to be inside more and work on art, while my grandfather was more pragmatic, concrete, and wanted him to be outside in sports, etc. Like one time he bought my father some boxing gloves and rounded up the kids in the neighborhood and told them like they could have a boxing ring outside. That's very pragmatic. Like nowadays, I don't know if that would fly, but anyways, my dad didn't like boxing. Like I would have liked boxing because I'm an SP, but he didn't. He just wanted to do art. But eventually, my my grandpa got him into surfing. I would take him surfing, and then they connected right with the SP activity. Anyways, so the artisan parents can have a hard time seeing the idealist way of life They might get criticized on having heads in the clouds, oversensitivity, and inability to improvise and act. Now, I could kind of relate to this. I don't have kids yet, but do have friendships with NFs. And the main frustration is that you want them, it's almost like you want them to snap out of it a little bit and live like in the society that is, not the society that could be. So you kind of want to snap them out of it and say, hey, take action, like be assertive for yourself. It's not all about like what's good for other people in society and how things should be, right? So this could be a challenge when you're the parent to the kid. You might want to snap your kid out of his idealistic ways, but that's his nature. You need to allow that to live, or else you could kill the kid's confidence. Okay. So the worst case scenario could look like the parent telling the idealist to toughen up and take hold of reality. That's what I just detailed. The best case would be for the child to learn to implement some of the artisan style into their personality, right? So this in this example would be like my dad saw the example of my grandfather being very in the moment, social, and like wanting to take action. And because he saw that, it's almost like an ideal to strive for. So open that possibility for him and allow him to like get into surfing and do activities that he wouldn't have done otherwise. You know, so
Yeah. I
but like
mean,
I said, it's like we want to open up new realities for your kids,
yeah,
but not force it on them.
yeah. I think this is going to be a trouble for NTs and SPs. Having an idealist kid, because they're so focused on doing the right things and heads in the clouds, and that nature is going to be a lot tougher for you to get through to them. And a lot of times, like especially like an NTJ, that they tell you something a couple times, they might just like berate you or belittle you. So it's kind of bad for the child's overall confidence. But overall, here, Christian SP with an NF, he's gonna be like, "Why you don't want to play sports? I love sports. You should love sports because I love sports." So it's like go back to that projecting, but that's not for everybody.
Yeah, or like in the boxing example, it would be like, because I like stuff like boxing, martial arts, wrestling. So obviously, I would like my kids to like it too because it would be kind of like a good activity to share. But NF would be less likely to participate in that stuff because, I mean, it's kind of violent, like it's about,
Somebody gets hurt.
taking action on someone else, like defeating someone else, making the other one feel a little bit lesser than, like wrestling. That was you want to dominate your competition. It's very like aggressive style of sport. NF probably not likely to partake in that sort of activity, So
Yeah.
you need to understand that. Okay. So this is the artisan parent and the rational child, the NTs. Now, this relationship often happy. The artisan freestyle is perfect for the rational. Both have preference to do what works. They're both pragmatic. And the artisan parent can help the rational children to understand the importance on the ability to improvise, overcome, and adapt, helping these children to own the moment and live freer lives. Problems is that the rational children often puzzle their artisan parent due to being abstract what ifs and focus on knowledge. Now, this relationship could be really good. I think it's even better if the SP has kind of like developed to a point where they can participate in those what if conversations. I think I like to think that I've reached that point. So me and an NT kid would go really good because I wouldn't be so in the concrete. I can kind of like, play in that realm. Um, Also, it's like it's good because both are pragmatics. So there is no conflict in that. For example, when you want your kid to go outside of the rules of society, the kid's gonna be right along with you. So there shouldn't be any problems with that. And this could just be a harmonious relationship. Now, Mercer, can you talk about the like
I'm
what
confused.
what would you think? this relationship will look like ideally?
Well, I mean, ideally, I think my mom's a SP. Um, grew up in a single parent household, so I got double down on SP-ness. Um, we got a lot of freedom, and that was very good for me. Because I love freedom, and it taught me how to be even more independent at a very young age. Also, my mom let us do things that we probably shouldn't have been able to do. I mean, I was in like fourth grade playing mature games, you know. A lot of people's parents aren't okay with the child playing mature games, but my mom was 100% okay with it. We're playing games where, it's crazy. Like on TV, they're like, "Oh, this gonna lead to your kids doing this and that." And my mom was like, "Shit, that ain't gonna lead to y'all doing any of that. Y'all get the game y'all want to." So that overall made me feel happy. Um, overall, the only bad thing is like even ever since I was a kid, I always thought like I was my mom's parent, right? Being a rational child, I thought I knew more than her even as a child. And now we're like in adulthood, and she's like, "You think you my parent?" And it's just being a rational child to a SP. I feel like I see things a lot farther than what she sees it. But overall, I think it leads to a very good development because um, your skills and being able to be independent and your skills at being able to improvise, overcome, and adapt and be in the moment is going to be a lot better than an NT who doesn't have an SP as a parent. Um,
Mhm.
so like when I look at some NTs, I'm like, why the fuck you can't do this? So maybe his parenting had a different structure. But for my parent structure, I was a single parent household. SP mom, it was pretty much you figure it out, you do it on your own. You got maximum freedom. Just don't fuck shit up and have her like get a call or something. But besides that, it builds your confidence. My mom, I feel like she was always intrigued that I was a nerd, being a nerd, my mom was always kind of intrigued, but I also had other siblings to kind of balance things out. But yeah, I was the nerd of the family, I would say. Um,
Okay. All right. So I think what you want to do as a SP with an NT then is to encourage them to take action, maybe not like applied knowledge, right? Because they're focused on knowledge. So I would say SP will probably try to get you to explore, try to get you to explore and act on that knowledge. And I think it's the right combination for a person for NT person to be really successful. So this could be a really good combination. Now, but
I
like
think
I said, this is
this is
not a
gonna be the
monolith
best.
because
I think I
there's
think this
SP
is gonna be
parents that
the
are
best.
just bad parents. You know what I mean? Like it's not just because you're SP with an NT doesn't mean it's gonna be perfect. You know,
Mhm. Yeah,
it depends on the parent, depends how developed you are and like how good you have got yourself to be. I want to say that for all of these, like all of these, same thing. Like this is just a general view of this, but it really depends on you, like to put in the work, develop yourself so that you could give your kids a good platform to stand on and they could just reach above you. That's the goal.
yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
mean, you got to remember. To me, I just see it as like overall, you want to get that child to be the best version of themselves in adulthood, because you're not going to be here forever, right? And then you want them to take those same lessons that you taught them and teach the next generation, and then the next generation, and then the next generation. It's very important to put them in the best situation possible for that. Um, so
Mhm.
yeah. And guys, as always, we always going to reference where we get our knowledge from. David Kersey and Stephen Montgomery. Highly recommend you pick up their work. Um, and
Mhm.
as always, uh, me, I mean, as
You got any
always,
closing thoughts?
closing thoughts. I think SPs. If you're going to be a parent, just understand that your um reliance on improvising and overcoming and adapting, it might not work for every one of your kids, right? Your consequential awareness as well. just figuring out what's best for your child might be differently. Definitely, if you get an NF, you don't want to do the same thing Christian's grandpa did to Christian's dad. Might scar him. It might scar him. Okay, why my dad? Why I don't why can't I be understood by my dad? You know, he might be asking that question. Or why does my dad not love me? Or like why does nothing ever go right with my dad? Or why am I so much different than my dad? And you don't want those questions to come up, right? You just at the end of the day, regardless of the type, you want to make sure they feel loved. Okay.
Right. Now, make sure that you like the video, right? Because we're gonna continue with the guides. What's the next personality type we're doing after this one?
We don't know. We'll decide once we get 30 likes. You know, if they don't give us 30 likes, we'll blow this shit up.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Make sure you watch this video. Like I said, 3 times, especially if you're SP, especially if you're SP, because you want to keep all of these things in mind, especially if you're going to be a parent soon, so that you don't just project your personality onto your kids no matter what. And, you don't want to run rampant out here. You want the best outcome, and this guide is going to get you to the best outcome.
I mean, as always, you always think ahead. If you think ahead, you're gonna get better fucking results. And that's what we're doing here. And always it stops you from blundering. And comment below if your parent was an SP and if you had this SP style in your life. So maybe this can help you narrow down on your parents type sometimes, because a lot of people do mistype their parents. But anything else, Christian?
No, I think that's it. And we'll catch you on the next guide if we get 30 likes in the comments. Peace.